UFC Fight Night Fight Island 6 Ortega versus the Korean Zombie just took place, and I'm going to go through the entire card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main event, give my reaction and breakdown to every single fight on the card, starting with our early prelim opener of Said Nurmagomedov versus Mark Striegel. I mean, I thought that Said Nurmagomedov was going to win. I thought that Said Nurmagomedov was going to win by close decision and it was going to be competitive. He went out there, caught Mark Striegel with a check hook, and Striegel went down straight away. I guess this Nurmagomedov's got power in his hands at bantamweight of all places. He came back with a vengeance. His last loss to Raoni Barcelos, I've completely forgotten about that now because I've just seen him completely take the soul of Mark Striegel in the first round. Check hook, ground and pound, finished the job in the first round. You can't ask for a better performance out of that from Said. I mean, Said's one of the more entertaining Dagestanis to watch, in my opinion. Throws a lot of good technique on the feet. He's basically the Zabit of the Nurmagomedov family. You know what I mean? Like, it's a weird complex. But Said is very dangerous. I think he's going to go far in that bantamweight division. I don't know who I want to see him matched up with next. I think Andre Ewell versus Said Nurmagomedov would be a very good matchup, but that's just me. Maybe not. Good matchups to make with Said Nurmagomedov. He looked really good with a first round TKO. Moving on, I'm going to pick my nose. Gadzhi Hermad Antigulov versus Maxim Grishin. I know people are going to want me to talk about the stoppage. I thought it was a bad stoppage. Maxim Grishin was going out there. Don't get me wrong, it looked like Maxim Grishin was on his way to dominating the fight as the fight went on, because I predicted a 29-28 decision for Grishin. I thought Antigulov would win the first round, which I believe he actually could have done. It was a close first round still, don't get me wrong. But, you know, Antigulov did good in the first round, but he always gasses out as the fight goes on. So I picked Grishin to win in the later rounds, getting a unanimous decision. He ended up getting a finish at the end of the second. It was interesting. It was a weird stoppage. I understand it, though. Here's the thing about the stoppage. I understand why the referee would think to jump in there, because it was on its way to being a stoppage, it looked like. But as far as I was aware, it looked to me that Antigulov heard the clacker at 10. I don't even know what it's called. I'll say clacker, though. It looked like he heard the clap for 10 seconds left and then just shelled up and looked for big counters. I don't think they should have stopped it, but it got stopped anyway. But it looked like Grishin was going to just dominate him from that point onwards. I had it a 10-8 round if that made it to the bell. So you know what? Not a good stoppage. But what can you do? It's UFC. Of course there's going to be a shit stoppage. Moving on. Jamie Malarkey versus Fares Ziam. The first one I got wrong on the card. I picked Said. I picked Grishin. I picked Malarkey to win. I said Malarkey would win a 29-28 decision. I thought it was going to be a close first round, but then Malarkey was going to pull it back in the second and third with some good grappling. It was an interesting decision. I know a lot of people scored this a bad decision. I think a bad decision is justified, though. Okay? Ziam did really good, but I thought it all came down to that third round. I don't think Malarkey landed one strike on the third round. That's all they gave him. Malarkey landed some strikes in my opinion. Fair enough, he wasn't the most busy with the top control, but he was passing guard. He was stopping Ziam from scrambling and escaping and reclaiming top position. It's not just like he was sitting there in full guard the entire time, not doing anything but hug on to Ziam. There was a real grappling battle going on, and Malarkey was bettering him for what felt like 3.5 minutes of that round. Ziam, with 40 seconds left, ends up on top, lands some nothingness punches, but they're punches and they're significant strikes. They end up giving the round to Ziam. I thought it could have gone to Malarkey. I know that grappling, you kind of need to do more damage nowadays. But when I see someone scrambling to get back up, I know that grappling is not considered anything nowadays. We get that. Unless you take someone's back, in which case you get a 10-8 round. But heaven forbid you're in half guard. But still, I know that grappling, you need to do more damage nowadays, but he was reclaiming the position, like he was winning an exchange. That should still be worth some points. But Ziam got it done. It wasn't a robbery. I said so it was at the time. I thought it was a robbery, but looking back at the stats, I get it. Ziam wins. I thought that Malarkey could have got it with the control, but that's okay. Ziam gets it done, and he took the back at the end as well, so that's a big deal. Moving on. Ziam gets it done. Park Yun-Yong versus John Phillips. My God. Park Bores Yun-Yong went out there and just Chimaev'd Phillips every single round. Like, fair enough, Chimaev got a finish, but it just wasn't competitive at all. Like, at all. Yun-Yong just dismantled him the entire fight. I picked Yun-Yong to win by grappling John Phillips and taking him down. I didn't realize how bad John Phillips' takedown defense was. It's terrible, man. There's nothing. There's literally, oh, you're on my legs? Cool, I'm on my back. Well done. Like, there was no defense at all. There was no urgency to scramble. There was no fishing for underhooks. It was just accepting takedowns against Park Yun-yong. I've never seen worse takedown defense in my life. And I've watched women's flyweight fights. And it's interesting. Yun-yong got it done, though. Amazing performance. Just dominated the entire fight. One thing I want to make very clear. He beat Khamzat Chimaev's record on strikes of grounded opponent. On John Phillips, especially. He holds the record of strikes landed on John Phillips on the ground. But they gave him 10 official strikes. He landed hundreds. And on the stat page, they had John Phillips outlanding Park Yun-yong 3 strikes to 1 in round 2. Check the UFC stat page right now. That is the most bullshit I've ever heard in my fucking life, man. The most bullshit I've ever heard. Yun-yong dismantled him the entire time. I don't know how they didn't give him more strikes. I understand he's not winding up with everything he has, but if they were total strikes, I get it, but the referee was looking for a time to step in. If there's a situation where you're landing shots and the referee's thinking about stepping in if John Phillips doesn't do something, then they're not just total strikes. They're significant strikes because they're leading to a finish, right? Weird that they took that away from Yun-yong with all of those stats. Still got the job done. This makes Chimaev look a little bit... Does Yun-yong go on and beat Usman? Like people were saying about Chimaev? Is Wonderboy ducking Yun-yong? It puts it into perspective when you watch someone just completely ragdoll and dominate a guy that you gave Chimaev so much credit for. But still, Yun-yong gets it done. Everyone kind of does that to John Phillips, though. Great performance from Yun-yong. Moving on, Gillian Robertson versus Poliana Botelho. Great matchup. Gillian Robertson, oh, so raunchy to watch, honestly. She's got that good look. Really good positioning. Great ground control. I like Gillian Robertson. I just shit on the women's flyweight division. Gillian Robertson's very good at grappling. She's got really good top position. She's got really good ground and pound. She isn't one of these girls that just holds on to full mount or full guard, sorry. She goes for half guard, goes for full mount, looks to pass guard, looks to land big elbows from on top. I had multiple 10-8 rounds. Maybe not multiple, maybe a 10-8 round, but still good rounds from Gillian Robertson. Dominated the entire fight. Great performance. I got that one correct. And so far, I'm 5-1 on the prelims, or 4-1 on the prelims so far. Moving on to another fight. Mateusz Gamrot versus Guram Kutateladze. I thought Mateusz Gamrot won the fight very clearly. I don't scream robbery, like I just said. Ziam versus Malarkey, in my opinion, was just a weird decision. Could have gone either way. I thought it went to Malarkey, it went to Ziam. I disagree with it, but that's okay. That's the sport. It's close rounds. I thought Gamrot won rounds 1 and 3 pretty clearly, in my opinion. Now, Guram got the knockdown in the second round, and I'm just going to bring up the stat page right now. Guram got the knockdown in the second round, don't get me wrong, and I do respect that a little bit. I do really respect it that he got the knockdown in the second round. It was an amazing knockdown. It was really good. Guram looks really good, okay? So it's hard to really trash him here. But he lost that fight. He lost that fight to Guram Kutateladze. To Mateusz Gamrot. Pretty clearly. He got outlanded 15-11 in the first round and got taken down that round. So he loses that round, right? No, they give him that round. 16-15. Gamrot outlands him in the second and gets him down with a takedown. But Guram lands a knockdown, so he scores that round for himself. Very good to Guram. He wins himself the second round. Third round, utter domination from Gamrot. Wins the round pretty clearly. Almost doubles Guram in strikes and takes him down 3 times as well. They give it to Guram Kutateladze. And Masvidal said he could see the robbery coming. When I started seeing tweets that said that Guram Kutateladze was up 2-0 and that Gamrot needed a finish, I could smell the robbery coming from a mile away. I could smell it coming a mile away. And it stinks. And it's very strange that Chimaev's sitting next to Dana White. And I'm not calling conspiracy here. Okay? It's very strange that Chimaev, Guram's friend, is sitting next to Dana White. Yun-yong Park breaks his record. And they take that away from him in the stats and give him 10 overall strikes. Apparently Yun-yong Park, in a 10-8 second round, which I thought was a 10-8 round, landed 1 strike, according to the stats, on John Phillips. They took away his record, okay? and made it Yun Yong Park did not break the record of total strikes from Chimaev. Pretty cool. Then they give Garam this fight. It was a close fight though. And Garam landed big body kicks. I understand that. But when you get outlanded 15-11, okay, that's a clear outlanding. Then you get taken down on top of that and controlled for like a half a minute or so, 40 seconds. It's no brainer. I thought Gamrot won, sorry. Garam got it done though. Cool. I think Garam could actually be a really good fighter. That was on short notice. I think if he has a full camp, he looks a little bit better and doesn't have to pace himself as much. I like Garam Kutateladze, but Gamrot won that fight in my opinion. But Garam's got a big future because if he gets a full camp, he's a dangerous man. He's so explosive. Great takedown defense. Great body kicks. I just thought he got a little bit outworked in the first and third. That's okay though. Nothing to see here. Just a UFC again. All good. Moving on to the main card. Thomas Almeida versus Jonathan Martinez. Great matchup while it lasted. Thomas Almeida's a beast, honestly. Came back after such a long time off and gave it his all against Martinez. He was the favourite. I thought I got every fight on the prelims right, but all good. They went some different directions. It's all good. I went 4-2 on the prelims. The only underdog I picked on this entire card was Jonathan Martinez. I thought that was a no-brainer. And I got him as a big underdog as well. Like, he started as a decently good underdog. I thought that, yeah, there's no way he's going to lose this fight to Almeida after so long off. But Almeida looks really good. He looks really good. And in fact, looked better than I imagined. Like, he had good body shots. He was very slow. He looked good, but he looked good for a guy who'd been out for so long and wasn't expected to look good for, you know? But in terms of like a real bantamweight contender, Almeida looks so behind in terms of speed. And yeah, Jonathan Martinez just outlanded him every round but the third. Even in the third round though, he rocked Almeida. It just seemed like when Martinez landed, it was different than when Almeida landed. And that was very clear throughout the entire fight. Martinez gets the job done. Almost KO'd Almeida a couple of times with those big shots. I like Martinez's style, and in my opinion, Martinez could be looking at a Song Yadong next. I think it's time to give Martinez a jump up the rankings. He's just won a fight on the main card, very impressively against a big name in Almeida, who used to be ranked, by the way. I say we give Martinez versus Song Yadong. Martinez versus Song Yadong, January, McGregor card, McGregor versus Poirier card, Song Yadong versus Jonathan Martinez, co-main event of the prelims. Sign me up. Great fight from Martinez. Moving on, Claudio Silva versus James Krause. I picked James Krause to win. He won. He did a good job. It was a close fight. I'm actually going to check the stats now because I think the stats were very close. They weren't that close, actually. Never mind. James Krause clearly outlanded him. I guess Silva wasn't landing as clean as I thought he was. I picked James Krause, but I thought, listen, Krause, you've got to do a little bit more here to win these rounds. Apparently, he was doing enough the entire time, but I just thought that the entire time, something was up with Krause. And then I found out afterwards he injured himself. His knee was completely blown out, which makes me understand the situation massively. I get it. If his knee was blown out the entire time, I understand. It just seemed to me like, how the fuck is Claudio Silva an undefeated UFC fighter? How is that at all possible? He looked so bad. He looked like I don't even know how he looked, okay? Krause looked okay for a guy who was fighting with one leg. I guess he looked really good considering. I mean, he looked great in the first round, good in the second. Third was a little bit rusty, but he landed big shots. Kept catching Silva with the fadeaway right hand. I thought it was an amazing punch he kept landing. But still, Claudio Silva looked like a guy when you're like, how the fuck are you a professional fighter? That is a disgrace. He literally had one option, try to get it to the ground. And when he couldn't do that, he just swung the most telegraphed shots I've ever seen in my life. It's a shock that Krause didn't KO him, even with one leg. But good performance from Krause, stepping up on short notice again and getting the job done. Thank you, James Krause. What a legend. Take some time off, come back in next year, early January. Maybe like that. Early 2020 would be good for Krause. Moving on up the card. Jimmy Crute versus Modestas Bukauskas. Performance bonus 100%. There's no way that Jimmy Crute doesn't get a performance bonus here. Went out there and just made it look easy against Modestas. I thought that Jimmy Crute was going to get a first round finish. I thought he was going to take Modestas down and submit him easily. He had his chance to take Modestas down and Modestas defended it very well. I'm sitting on my foot and it's gone completely numb and dead. So I'm just going to stop sitting on it for a second. I feel like that might be a good cure. But Crute looked amazing tonight. Really switched on. Great on the feet. Outlanded Bukauskas. 17-7 on significant strikes. And yeah, it just, to me, I knew this was going to happen. I didn't know he was going to destroy him in the first round by a brutal KO. A lot of people questioned the stoppage. I thought it was a good stoppage because if... You've got to think what happens if the ref doesn't step in. And what happens is, Crute is looking at an unconscious Bukauskas loading up another punch. So although when the fight stopped, Bukauskas looked back awake again, he just has really good recovery time. Even after the first shot, his recovery time was crazy. Like, he switches back on, like Jorge Masvidal. But the way it looked, I get the referee stepping in because Crute looked like the next punch he landed was going to be out cold for Bukauskas. He was done, in my opinion. So it was a good stoppage. Crute was very gentlemanly. He called out Nikita Krylov as well, which I think is an amazing call out. I'm so glad he did it. I want him to call out Serkinov again, just because I want him to get that loss off of his record. I think it would be cool for him to do it. But he wants Krylov in a short turnaround, I assume. So maybe get him back in their December 256 card. Crute versus Krylov, prelim headline. I don't know what they're going to do, but there's some big things coming for Jimmy Crute. I think just put him on the main event of a fight night. Maybe the co-main event, Krylov versus Crute. It just makes sense. Co-main event of a fight night. Make it happen. Quick turnaround. Crute got a brutal KO. Very Luque versus Randy Brown-esque with the big punch in the first round. Great performance. But I said this before. Bukauskas is very good. But he's not ready yet, man. He came in and basically fluked to win over Michailidis. Let's be real. He fluked to win. It was some illegal blows to the back of the head. Michailidis was recovering. The people opened the cage behind him. He fell out of the cage. The referee calls off the fight. It was a weird situation. Why are they chucking him to ranked fighter Jimmy Crute? I'll never know. Why do they do this with people? Why would they ever make this matchup? Obviously, he was going to lose. He's not ready, dude. Give him some time. Let him fight a guy like Sam Alvey first. Let him get past he didn't even get a chance to get past Devin Clark of the division. He was just chucked straight to Jimmy Crute with no regard for his own safety. And Crute destroyed him, which was going to happen. Great performance from Crute. Bukauskas looked good. Kept getting caught. He's very open for stuff. I think he needs to take a lot of time off after this one because he took a lot of damage. Didn't get KO'd stiff. So it's not going to be like permanent damage where he can't take punches anymore. I just think that Bukauskas needs to take some time off. I just wait and take on a guy who's a bottom feeder because he's right at the start of his career and they chuck him to rankings. It's so dumb. Good job, Jimmy Crute. Dominated it as I predicted. Moving on. Caitlin Chookagian versus Jessica Andrade. Andrade finished her with body shots in the first round. What can I say? Andrade looked really good. And in my opinion, looked like a girl that could actually be a threat to Valentina Shevchenko here. If Andrade went out there and won a decision, as I predicted, a close decision, it's tough. But she went out there and dominated and finished her with body shots. I think Andrade stands a real good chance against Valentina Shevchenko. She looked switched on. She was waiting for the big shots from Chookagian. And Chookagian, fair play, looked really switched on as well. Landed good shots, good front kicks, good jabs. She looked switched on, like she was there ready to fight. And Andrade landed those body shots and it was over. I understand she popped up afterwards, but that's just another awkward timing of the referee. If I was an MMA referee, if I was a referee in MMA, when I stop a fight, I'm pushing that fighter towards the canvas. I'm not letting them pop back up immediately afterwards and look at me like, what have you done? These stoppages are good, in my opinion, but the referees just aren't doing it right, in my opinion. They're not stopping it right, but it was a good stoppage. She was done. She got hurt to the body. The only reason she popped back up was because Andrade was no longer hitting her in the body or ground and pounding her. Good stoppage. Andrade gets it done in a first round finish. I think we should do Andrade versus Calvillo next. I think that would be very ideal. Make it happen. Winner gets Valentina Shevchenko. And maybe, just maybe, you can entice me enough to feel entertained and excited for a Valentina Shevchenko fight for once, because I haven't done in years. So this would be good. Andrade versus Calvillo. Winner gets Shevchenko. Make it happen in December. Or even on the McGregor card, on the main card. I don't mind. Let's get some hype behind it. Moving on to the main event. I did a full fight breakdown for this. I'm actually going to see what the reaction is to it right now live, because I haven't refreshed my videos yet. Let me check. Wow, 90%, 96% like ratio. Alright, fair play. People agree with me then. I'll go ahead. I think Ortega looked really good. I think the Korean Zombie looked like complete and utter fucking shit. The entire fight, dude. The entire fight, I thought the Korean Zombie looked like complete and utter shit. But that's okay. Ortega looked really good as well. And it was a mix of both, I think. I think it was a mix of both. Like, I'm not going to completely count out Ortega and say the only reason Ortega won is because the Korean Zombie didn't show up. No, it just happened that Ortega came with his A game and the Korean Zombie came with his C game. But Ortega still came with his A game. So you've got to give him credit there for being the guy that showed up on the night. That don't happen 10 times over, in my opinion. Maybe now it does, because Korean Zombie's taken a bit more damage in his career. And once you start taking those knockdowns and start eating that damage, all of a sudden you're not the Zombie anymore, and you're getting dropped now and again. Maybe it's a difficult situation, but it just didn't seem like he was switched on. Korean Zombie kept smacking his head in the corner, trying to wake himself up, kept dabbing at his face in the middle of the rounds, kept talking and just looking around. Like, it was weird to me what Korean Zombie was doing. Very strange. Kept shaking out his arms after getting jabbed, trying to warm himself up. It just seemed like Ortega never let the Korean Zombie get comfortable, or, which I assume is the real case, the Korean Zombie just didn't really show up. He had an off night. He looked good at the start of the second round. Looked like he finally switched on. At the start of the second, he was doing really good, landing good combinations, looking like Korean Zombie should. And Ortega cracked him with that spinning elbow, which was more of a spinning tricep. Lands on his head, gives him flashbacks of the Yair fight, and it was just like back to stage one. We're gonna take some time to get heated up again. Then in the 5th round, finally, Korean Zombie coming forward, throwing combinations, landing big shots, and winning moments of that 5th round towards the end. But it just seemed like there was no urgency whatsoever, and it seemed like Korean Zombie thought he was winning. Maybe. I watched the 4th round, and it did not look to me like a guy who was down 3-0. It just didn't. Don't know what he expected, but Ortega looked really good. Give him the title shot against Alexander Volkanovski. Be a good matchup. They've built it up now. He just won a fight night headliner that's got a lot of hype behind it. So Ortega's going to get the title shot. I'll look forward to it. Let's make it happen. Maybe add to that 256 card a 3rd title fight. That would be ideal in my opinion. But still, the Korean Zombie, in my opinion, should take on the loser of Yair versus the Beats. Wait for that fight to be booked. Take some time off. Fight the loser of that fight and get right back in there. See if you can have maybe a Yair Rodriguez rematch or a Zabit Magomedsharipov to the Korean Zombie fight. Either way, it's a good outcome. Make those fights happen next. Zombie looked off to me, but still, Ortega brought his A game and looked really good and looked improved. So good job, Ortega. I think there was more to it though. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. Click that button up there. And goodbye. See you later.